Welcome back to the channel, and it looks like BlackRock itself will be attending Ripple Swell. If that's not huge, I don't know what is. When BlackRock gets involved in something, they intend to max it out in every way possible. That's what they do, whether people like them or not. They max it out. They know how to make money. Once again, whether people like their methods, agree with their methods or not. And so now that they've been confirmed to be attending Ripple Swell, they're sending someone there who's going to speak. We can also assume that they have a relationship with Ripple, which we had been speculating on for quite some time. These big companies is no different. BlackRock, Swift, whoever. These where they're a huge entity, a conglomeration, or they represent a conglomeration of companies. They have relationships with Ripple and these Bitcoin companies already for years. They just cannot talk about it. You're starting to see it come out now, right? This is unbelievable. I'm going to tell you. BlackRock, any activity from BlackRock, right, including an ETF, will have an effect on that XRP price. In my humble opinion, I could be wrong on that. I don't think I am. But I say that they max it out in every way possible because a lot of writers are immediately going to ETF. BlackRock is connected to a lot of companies that if Ripple and BlackRock have a good relationship, which I'm going to assume they do because BlackRock's attending their event, this could spin out into a multitude of different partnerships with companies associated with BlackRock. BlackRock opening a lot of doors, making it easier for Ripple to do what it is they're inevitably going to do. See, BlackRock, another thing about them is they don't, from what I know, when it comes to powerhouses, they tend to go with the flow. They're going to try to benefit from that entity instead of going against them. And that's what it looks like here. Ripple is inevitably going to be a massively powerful company. I think, once again, akin to like the IMF. You look at what they're doing with SDRs. You look at what Ripple's doing now with lending based on XRP value. It's the same thing, only on a lesser scale, but it doesn't take that long to get to that scale. BlackRock knows this. So, I mean, I could see BlackRock setting up some stuff where Ripple, maybe some XRP is used for treasuries with some certain companies. This is just my opinion, but it's already been happening, just not by way of BlackRock. But why would they sit on the side and let everyone else get in early and make all the money? That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I do believe that they will be involved some way, even if you don't hear about it with XRP treasuries or digital asset stockpiles, whichever words you want to use for that. Yes, for cross-border payments of some kind. Maybe they have some of their companies set up something where it runs through them, but is built on the XRP ledger, laid upon something that Ripple has already established. That's a way that they collect a little bit of value while Ripple still gets the lion's share. BlackRock just wants a piece. They want a piece, and that little piece, they're going to max it out in their own way. But let's read this little tidbit here, folks. Brilliant times we're living in. And if you like this type of content so far, please click that like button. I would appreciate that. It begins here. XRP price has stayed in the spotlight, pushing through mixed phases while holding steady above key levels. Well, I'm not concerned with this price right now. We didn't start interbank payments. We didn't. RWA is not here. B2B, massive B2B movement. It's not here. So for someone like myself, I know everyone is different. I'm not worried about the price right now. Is it okay? Yeah, sure. It's not 50 cents anymore, is it? No. But no, I'm looking at something much higher. It says the token continues to attract strong interest, with some analysts pointing to familiar growth setups from past cycles. I'm not worried about past cycles either, because the past right now, while we're in uncharted territory with companies taking over, they're about to have their fill. The past does not dictate what they're going to do. It just doesn't. You can't take what retail does and, somebody, a regular person does, and then say, well, based on this, we think that the governments and the large asset managers who pretty much run the governments are going to do such. No. Are going to do thus. No. So I don't think that dictates things as of now, but to each his own. OK, it says attention is also shifting toward Ripple's major event later this year, where big institutional names are set to appear. Now, wait, let's scroll down, see if they have a little bit more on this. Bear with me one moment, please. Okay, BlackRock's role at Ripple Swell 2025. See, I had to scroll past an entire section just to get here. The announcement that BlackRock will join Ripple Swell 2025 in New York has sparked strong reactions. I saw a bunch of articles on this across the community. The two-day event will bring together more than 60 speakers, with Blackwell's Maxwell Steen featured as one of the highlights. His participation has raised discussions about the growing connection between traditional finance and digital assets like XRP. Well, we know that that's growing. That's undeniable. Right here, I'm just going to stay focused on BlackRock's relationship with Ripple. That's huge. Huge. It says, while BlackRock has publicly stated it has no immediate plans for an XRP ETF, that's irrelevant. When they speak, they're talking about right now in this moment. They know how to manipulate language. Yeah, I'm not interested in an XRP ETF right now. You're not. That doesn't mean it can't change tomorrow, or you don't have designs on the future. It doesn't negate that. It doesn't take that away, that possibility. No. So when they say things like that, they've said this before about other things that now have ETFs. I mean, so should we reference that? We probably should, to show that, if something's a moneymaker, is in the clear, they're going to get involved with it. They just don't want people to know about when they're going to do it. And they don't want to confirm speculation either. I get that. I understand that. But it says its involvement is still notable. Of course it is. They're not here for no reason. They're not just here to speak to this audience. This audience could be spoken to at a myriad of different events. This is very, very impactful because they're choosing, as BlackRock, knowing the power that name carries, the value that's behind that name, they're willingly making an appearance at Ripple's event. That's why it's significant. You got a bunch of different events throughout the year where powerful banking organizations and financial companies, NBFIs get together. They can attend any of those and still talk to the same audience. So that's not where the real substance is. Clearly, the substance is they're deliberately showing the people that there's a connection here. BlackRock, Ripple, we're behind. It's pretty much like them saying we're behind them. It's as if, let's say you're a basketball player, right? And you're on a team. You have all of these different teams, all of these different brilliant players. But Michael Jordan comes to watch you practice. That's a show of power, of influence, of support, to say, I support these guys right here. He could attend any of those different camps, but he chose to attend your camp, knowing the media was going to see it and blast that everywhere. And they want that speculation. They want the fervor. They want but more than just lighting a fire when it comes to the media and retail. Yay, BlackRock, the price is going to skyrocket if they use XRP. Sure, yeah, sure, that's true. That's very true. If they establish any sort of utilization of XRP at some point in the future, that's true. But it's more than that. It's for the companies. We just talked about this recently. This all adds up. They want to put pressure on other companies to get them in, because that's where they take the bulk of the capital from. Once everybody, think about it. This is very simple, logical. They said 70% of companies are not in crypto yet. Mostly when they say crypto, they're talking about Bitcoin. But if that applies to Bitcoin, then it also more so applies to altcoins as well, right? Okay, they want them to get in now. BlackRock doesn't want to wait. They will wait if they have to, but they don't have to wait anymore. They want them in now. So they're showing like, hey, listen, everything we get involved in, this is what we're backing. And if we're backing it, the price is going to skyrocket. And it has companies in a scramble. Wait, maybe we should get some Bitcoin. Maybe we should get some XRP. That's what they want. That's the intention, part of it. Now companies are saying, we better get in early before the price skyrocket because we want to get some of that value. The races, BlackRock getting involved is like shooting off a flare and starting a race. They want those businesses, small, medium, it doesn't matter. They want all of as many of them as possible to get in And I guarantee you BlackRock has one of the most cold-hearted strategies ready set up so they can max out the value they're going to get from all of these different bank coins that they will be involved with, Bitcoin as well. This is my humble opinion, not financial advice. But there's... Just think about what I said, maybe. I believe that there's substance there. Ripple's swell events often deliver impactful discussions. And having one of the world's biggest asset managers on stage adds weight. It adds weight to the connections that Ripple might establish or have. Also, how long have they been speaking with BlackRock? Right? So someone may try to write that off. What does that matter? Because if they've been speaking with BlackRock for a long time behind the scenes, then there could be more in the works. You perceive they were just talking to them for a few weeks and they just say, well, let's go to Ripple Swell. No, they've had a multitude of meetings, I would assume, discussed a multitude of different things, bounced ideas off of each other. And if BlackRock is involved, Vanguard is right around the corner. Look this up. BlackRock is the biggest holder of Vanguard, and Vanguard is the biggest holder of BlackRock. They pretty much won. So that's another interesting aspect to keep in mind. Things are getting hot right now. Once again, if you haven't already, please click that like button. So let's move on here. Hopefully you're enjoying the video and the information. So thus far. That's my word for today. Thus far. Thus far is one of my words. Parsimonious is another word. Alacrity is another word. You have to use these new words so they stick in the mind, right? I'm always trying to learn. I have to exercise my mind, so that's just good for me. I have to do something to work my mind. Now, this more big news. I forgot about you. Let me forget about this one. XRP is on fire. Ripple's on fire as well. Let me give them some credit. XRP cracks into global aviation as Weebus and Air China target 60 million loyalty members. Oh, the fire's getting hot in here. I love this time period. I really do. So now, XRP is breaking into global travel as Weebus teams with Air China to unlock crypto payments for 60 million loyalty users, redefining how premium travel gets paid. So I'm assuming they can pay with XRP. And if they can pay with XRP, they probably can receive XRP maybe as rewards. They're going to explain, I'm sure. Wait. What is this? Bear with me. I don't control this, folks. A gigantic ad just popped up, covered the entire article, folks. Let me just click to skip. I had to find the skip button. They made it tiny. I don't control that. All right now. So here we go. Weebus International Limited announced on September 3rd that it had signed a strategic partnership with Air China Limited. Why did they say that 3 times? They said it at the top, they said it in the middle, and now they're saying it here. Aiming to bring XRP payment options to the airline's 60 million plus Phoenix Miles members. Okay. Under the agreement, Weebus WeTour platform will provide premium chauffeur-driven transfers and airport services to Air China passengers worldwide. The deal broadens Weebus' global mobility footprint while setting the stage for blockchain-based payments integration within one of the world's largest airline loyalty programs. Nan Zheng, chief executive officer of Weebus, highlighted the scope of the collaboration. All right, this is great. But I just want to hear about the XRP part. I want to be honest. I just want to hear about the XRP. I stay focused. So looking ahead, WeTour plans to provide Air China's Phoenix Miles members with access to its overseas platform with XRP payment support, enabling travelers to benefit from faster settlement. I told you, tokenized rewards. Right. Award them that let them get some XRP. Let them get used to it. It's going to be dominant. Maybe they'll make not financial advice. Maybe they'll make a little bit off of that also if they maneuver it the correct way. So tokenized rewards and blockchain enabled vouchers directly tied to their membership benefits, subject to future business development and regulatory compliance. Quote, this marks a key step in connecting one of the world's largest airline loyalty bases, with the next generation of Web3 travel solutions, unquote, the executive added. So this is also very, very good activity here. I want to move on. We have a lot of stuff going on today. We have to tie together, okay? Now, this here, I wanted to show this article, if we can squeeze it in. I have just a little bit of time. Let's do this one very quickly, because I think the point can be made without too much verbiage. This article is titled, Kenya in negotiations with China to convert US dollar loans into yuan. Folks, isn't that interesting, right? So Kenya's doing this. We see Ripple a few days back just entered Africa with RLUSD. I was saying how a lot of the world has continued to move away from the dollar. This is an example. I'm telling you, XRP has to glue everything together. It's a bridge currency. Those dollars have to be converted into something else that probably will be converted into something else. The bridge currencies are going to thrive because of that. The world has experienced and continues to experience increased fragmentation. So liquidity is going to be an issue. You see everyone's still trying to solve that. We read some articles about that the other day. Then also, once again, fragmentation is a problem where bridge currencies can solve. XRP and any of these bank coins that provide liquidity and act as bridge currencies are going to win because of these things. I think that's very clear. But I just wanted to point that out. Right, we heard some other information about BRICS nations, which yes, they've slowed down a lot of what they're doing. They've gotten a little bit quiet. We know why, but you know, as the West rapidly changes, like every 3 to 4 years, you're going, depending on what happens next, you're going to hear about BRICS nations rearing their head again. They've still continued dollar dumping, but they came out the other day and they're like, oh, solidarity, you know. Okay, all right. So if that is the case, I'll keep an eye on dollar dumping, dollar shirking, etc., and going away from Western systems. That benefits the new financial system. If so, if not, no big deal, because I mean, with interbank payments, RWA, B2B, small, medium-sized businesses, payroll, bank coins win anyway. That's a ton of value, folks. And everything will be tokenized. BlackRock will definitely be involved in that for sure. Right after Ripple, it was a few months after Ripple talked about RWA tokenization, and they were the first that I heard speak about that years ago. Right after that, a few months later, BlackRock was talking about it. Maybe it wasn't a coincidence. So I believe, yeah, BlackRock's going to be involved. So now, and that's major. So now let's go here. A little bit of Bitcoin news. Okay. Hope you're all doing good out there, healthy. This article is titled Bitcoin Traders Tipping Q4 price top do not understand statistics, unquote, says some analysts. Oh, they're talking some spicy. They have some fire for the people. Bitcoin analyst Plan C says there is no reason for Bitcoin to reach a cycle high this year except for a psychological self-fulfilling prophecy, unquote, quote unquote. You know what? I didn't expect this person to say that. They sound like me. I'm going by catalyst. I'm going by established catalysts. If those catalysts remain that cause Bitcoin to be so bullish, then why would it not continue to be bullish? If we continue to get more positive catalysts for Bitcoin, can it consolidate? Yes. I said this before last week. I said this multiple times in different ways. So can it consolidate? Yes. Dip? Yes. Correction? Yes. That's healthy, but it's mostly based on the minds of the people and companies involved. A lot of it is manipulation at this point. In retail, we know is very easily pushed this way or that. But yes, it's not based on the catalyst. It's not actually based on Bitcoin becoming bearish at all whatsoever, which is why companies continue to buy a ton of Bitcoin. Right? So I agree with this. Good job. I don't remember hearing about this analyst Plan C before, but nonetheless, good job. I agree with that. Let's hear some more. It says traders who predict Bitcoin will reach its cycle high price by the end of this year may be misunderstanding the principles of statistics. Oh, see, so they're coming from a different way. I'm just looking at solid catalysts of today, things that exist, businesses that want Bitcoin treasuries, nations with Bitcoin stockpiles or treasuries, whatever they're calling it, reserves. I beg your pardon. Sorry about that. This person's going by statistics. Okay. It comes as several analysts have been forecasting the outcome for Bitcoin, which is showing green at $111,000 around there. It says, quote, anyone who thinks Bitcoin has to peak. Okay, so he's not writing off the possibility, but he's just saying it, like they're saying, speaking as though it must occur. Yeah, I don't like that absolution. A lot of people I notice they're absolutist. When they say something, they speak as though it must happen. That's just not the way life works. But anyway, it says anyone who thinks Bitcoin has to peak in Q4 of this year does not understand statistics or probability, unquote, Plan C said in an X post on Friday. Why did they repeat that again? And then so that's the second time they repeat it. Then they post the tweet where this individual says it. It says, quote, from a statistical and probability standpoint, it is equivalent to flipping a coin and getting tails 3 times in a row, then betting all your money that the fourth flip must be tails, unquote, Plan C said, explaining that relying on the three previous halving cycles doesn't provide enough statistically significant data. Well, I'm going to arrive at the same point, take a different method. As I've iterated before, if the catalyst for the bullishness of Bitcoin, if what is driving Bitcoin is different than in the past, then you must look at this in a different way. The pathway would be different. The drivers of the vehicle are different, and thus the outcome must be different. Who is in charge all of these other halving cycles? Retail whales and just regular retail individuals. Who's in charge now? Big companies buying a ton of Bitcoin. Who's been selling a lot? Whales, even to this day, regular retail whales are still selling massive amounts. Just had an article come out. Some retail whale moved millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. I would assume that person's probably going to sell. It's just an assumption. But yeah, this time is different. So you must approach this in a way that is unique to the circumstances of today. It says here, the analysts also argue that the halving cycle is no longer relevant to Bitcoin. We're going to see, but I'm agreeing with that. I feel I'm agreeing with that. I do want to wait a little longer to see, for it to prove itself. That makes sense? For it to be proven to be true, but I feel that way strongly as well. It says following, and I know based upon what I said, I should be like, oh, but I'm not an absolutist. I like to collect information. We were taught in school to be scientists. Collect information, collect data. And as the information evolves, thus our viewpoint of what we're looking at must also evolve. So although I feel very strongly about something, that's why a lot of times I try not to be an absolutist. I'll say I could be wrong, something like that. That's just me trying to maintain the balance. We must maintain a balance within ourselves. I don't ever want to become arrogant. My father hated that. He did. He used to always tell me, son, don't become arrogant. Don't ever be arrogant. That word is burned into my brain. So I try to keep myself humble, right? And I think that allows me to have a very clear perception or perspective on things, right? Perception as well as perspective. But let's continue on here. It says, the analysts who argue that the halving cycle is no longer relevant to Bitcoin following recent debate in the industry over its relevance, especially with the rise of Bitcoin treasury companies and significant inflows into the US-based spot Bitcoin ETFs, quote, there is no fundamental reason other than a psychological self-fulfilling prophecy for the peak to occur in Q4 2025. So you tell me if you agree with that or not. All right. Bitcoin's looking good, in my humble opinion. Crypto's looking great. I mean, the bank coins, when I say crypto, I mean the bank coins, Bitcoin as well. Looking very good, in my humble opinion. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. I almost messed that up. Wait. So now that happens sometimes. It's just I have so much on my mind. It just slipped my mind. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.